and the occupant of the White House have. If Joseph Stalin took over the United States, as long as he didn't kick down your door and take away your recording equipment, what possible effect could that have on your creative output? I don't know, but that's the way these people think. So Taylor Swift, they piled on her about that, having a good year with all of this terrible stuff going on. Say, oh, this little spoiled, privileged. You know what? She's successful. I don't care why people have money. I don't resent them for it. If they inherit it, if they're a complete waste of time who inherit their money, it's theirs. She happens to work hard and have talent and be very, very intelligent. So she has made herself a very, very rich young woman. And good for her. That's the land of opportunity. I'm all for that. But the alt-left, as I said, hates happiness. They hate success. The only glee they ever get is that twisted satisfaction, that schadenfreude at the misery of their enemies. Like another story, Fox News acting CEO Rupert Murdoch's home burned down, and they were absolutely delighted about this. In fact, Neera Tanden, president of the Center for American Progress, that sounds like a really great group, former campaign staffer for Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, tweeted her glee that Fox News acting CEO Rupert Murdoch's mansion in the Bel Air neighborhood was burned down in a wildfire. Her tweet read, "There's a God, and she's unhappy." You know, they consider this good news. They were glad that this man's house burned down. Think about how evil that is.
Yes, I know. And it's weird because Rupert Murdoch, I consider him to have done tremendous damage. You know, I am certainly not a fan of the man. And yeah, I wouldn't wish something like that on my worst enemy. Just to take a simple example, the amount of genuinely viciously homophobic and transphobic stuff that used to get published in the likes of The Sun and so on, you know, in the 90s and even now to the present day. You know, they've gone quiet in recent years because they know they can't pull that shit anymore, but they did absolutely everything that they could to hold back the marriage laws and so on. The man's done tremendous damage, but I wouldn't wish anything like that on him.
Since you mentioned the same-sex marriage thing and everything, to me, I can't believe that there's any dissent on that view at all. It's a civil right. How could you possibly be opposed to that? Now, if you're one of those people, if you think it's a sin or whatever, great. You have free speech. You can say that. You can say the Bible says this, the Bible says that, and that's no problem. But what in the world does that have to do with a civil right? Absolutely nothing. I mean, it seems such a no-brainer. Does the Constitution say anything about that? No. Therefore, it's a right. So give me a break with that. I totally oppose my fellow Christians who don't know what they're talking about, and I challenge them to prove to me why that should not be lawful. And, of course, they can't. So, yeah, a lot of crazy leftist stuff there. And there was one more minor little issue where they actually made a motion. House Democrats actually made a motion to impeach the President of the United States, Donald Trump. They actually made a motion this time, which was immediately squashed by a 364-58 vote, with 126 Democrats even voting against it because it was nonsense. This is the argument. Now, impeachment is a big process. And even if you are impeached, Bill Clinton was impeached, didn't stop his being president, you know. It doesn't mean you're removed from office, and it certainly doesn't mean Hillary Clinton gets to take over. Which I think a lot of them actually believe. It's like they think it's the equivalent of a recall. Whereas in California some years back, we had a recall. The actual governor of California was recalled, Gray Davis, and we installed a new governor, Arnold Schwarzenegger. But this is not a recall. An impeachment, even if he were convicted, which is utterly ridiculous, the idea if Donald Trump were convicted, who would become president? Mike Pence.
Yeah, Electric Pence. He who believes in gay conversion camps.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's why it's called Electric Pence.
Electric Pence. So the argument raised by Representative Al Green from Texas was he has harmed
Al Green? Or another Al Green?
Not the soul-singing Al Green.
Okay. I just want to be sure, you know, so many showbiz people get into politics, you know?
That's true. It could well be.
Sonny Bono?
Right. I mean, Sonny Bono was in politics. Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course. You know, Ronald Reagan, obviously. But no, Al Green, I don't believe it's that Al Green. You never know, actually. Imagine actually voting on articles of impeachment for a statement like this. I'm going to read the statement. He has harmed the society of the United States, brought shame and dishonor to the office of the President of the United States, sowing discord among the people of the United States, and associating the majesty and dignity of the presidency with causes rooted in white supremacy, bigotry, racism, anti-Semitism, white nationalism, and neo-Nazism. Anti-Semitism, that would be a real tough one to bring against Donald Trump. That would be a real hard charge to
Yeah,
bring.
for obvious reasons, yes.
For obvious reasons, yeah. I mean, it's the left that hates Israel and hates Jews and hates all that stuff.
Yeah.
Not mean to get political and incorrect here,
No,
but
that's perfectly all right. I got one thing for you, and thankfully this is a nice, light-hearted one.
Nice and lighthearted. Does that mean, like, semen is involved, or furry pets, or furry stuffed animals or something?
No, it's about diaper lovers.
Oh,
yeah.
That's good.
University denies it failed to protect staff in case involving alleged diaper fetish. Vancouver Island University is at the centre of a human rights complaint alleging that female staff were not protected from a student who brought a diaper-related sexual fetish to the BC school. A 105-page complaint filed by the Nanaimo School's former director, Human Rights and Respectful Workplace, Catherine Roth, said the man's behaviour was treated as a disability when it should have been dealt with as a potential threat to female staff. He will not stop unless we make him, said Roth. I truly believe he needs to be medically assessed as to whether he's a risk to the community. The student in his 40s asked to be treated as an infant, demanding children's books to be read to him, speaking in a baby voice, wearing a soother, and even submitting a selfie of himself in a diaper to one instructor, said Roth. Yeah, the guy's a fucking creeper. She believes that as soon as the university knew the student had what it terms an atypical sexual drive that he may impose on non-consenting individuals, staff needed warning. He was only one of a handful of in-person students in the small intensive course, but his odd and incessant emails disturbed the English professor and chair of VIU's Women's Studies programme, Janice Ledwell Hunt, the document says. Then he handed in an essay with a selfie of himself in a diaper with a baby bottle and a soiled diaper. When she refused to accept it, he became belligerent and she turned to VIU authorities for protection. He'd show up in a Curious George outfit with a soother around his neck, says Ledwell Hunt. He was involving me into his fantasy, you mean sex life, into his fantasy, you mean sex play. After the student was finally asked to leave her class in late May, after she raised numerous concerns, he then threatened to take his case to the BC Human Rights Tribunal because he was being discriminated against for his exceptionality. Yeah, exceptional is right, according to the documents filed within the tribunal.
Now, we would never dare to sit here and judge this person as weird and a fruitcake, because that would be judgmental. That would be hate. And if he identifies as a baby, well, then doggone it, he's a baby. I mean, that's just the way it works these days. Now, that's an actual fetish, but every day on Facebook, it seems I'm seeing some strange new thing that they're calling a fetish. And I saw one yesterday. People have a fetish for burying their face in bread. I mean, basically just putting bread and biscuits and things like that down and putting your face into it. That's considered a fetish now. And I'm like,
really?
Okay, what will they come up with next? God, Lord. I wonder if there will ever be a fetish for actual, honest, hard work. That would be a nice fetish.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we play a song then?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, this is a track from the awesome West Coast Sick Line. This is a track off their debut album. They've since done a good few others, which you'll all find at germanshepherdrecords.bandcamp.com. But this is a track from their debut album. Hope you all have nightmares except Kirsty.
Except for Kirsty, yes.
Except for Kirsty. This is a track from that album, and this is Vunt.
Why am I scared?
West Coast Sickline there with the track Vunt from their album Hope You All Have Nightmares Except Kirsty, which you'll find along with the rest of their awesome oeuvre over at GermanShepherdRecords.bandcamp.com.
That has to really have moved Kirsty. She must have been really touched by that, I think. To be exempt from the nightmare wish,
Yeah, I'm not sure who Kirsty is. I must ask Dusty Moonen about that sometime.
Probably not a real person, but it's a funny idea anyway.
I don't know. It might be an idea. Okay, tell me a little bit about the next artist that we're going to play, because this is one that you've chosen. It's not just one, but it's two artists, isn't it? Steve Inglis and who's the other fellow? Fernando Garcin, yeah?
Fernando Garcin, yes. This illustrates, in the indie music universe, we all live in our little galaxies, and there's usually the 6 degrees of separation principle. You're going to find somebody having worked with somebody if you go 6 steps out. And this illustrates that. So the main artist on this track is Steve Inglis, is a terrific singer-songwriter in Scotland. And for all these years, he's been working mostly with 4 tracks and just starting to get into collaborations. I believe this is his first ever collaboration. People have wanted to work with him. He's very popular. People have wanted to work with Steve Inglis for some time. In fact, he was approached by Tilly Riddle. That's quite an honor. I mean, I went chasing after her, but she actually approached him to do a collab, and they're working on a trio of songs, which I can't wait to hear. I believe this is the first collab Steve Inglis has put out, and he does instrumentals, he does pop and rock, and he's a magnificent artist. And this is the first collab, and it's with another great singer-songwriter from Spain called Fernando Garcin. Now, about a month or so ago, you played a song by Malo Warriors called Dulce Moon, and Fernando Garcin was a vocalist on that. And that's because he works quite a bit. Fernando Garcin works quite a bit with Derek. We know him as Derek D'Amico, but he's actually Dubois Dorino.
Yeah.
He's got 5 different reverb pages, and you play him all the time, and you've interviewed him recently. So Fernando has worked with Derek, as of course have I. Steve is a really good friend of Debbie Moore, who we played earlier, who hasn't collabed with her yet because he just started collabing. But Fernando has worked with Derek. Derek has worked with me, and another connection between tonight's act and Dubois Dorino, Derek, is the last one I'm going to play. John Kirby also has worked with Derek as well, as have I. And Steve is working with Tilly Riddle, and Tilly Riddle's worked with me. So we end up kind of working on each other's stuff in our little sphere here. And, of course, Derek is a common thread with a lot of us because many people have worked with him. So this is Steve Inglis with Fernando Garcin. Now, it's Steve's music. It's a true, proper collaboration because it's Steve's music, Fernando's lyrics and vocals. So each one of them contributed significantly. It's not as if Fernando just showed up to sing. He's also the lyricist on this one. And it really sounds like a score, like a soundtrack piece from some kind of opera, some kind of rock opera. It's a very, very beautiful song called Frozen Land.
There will be a big silence after the flood, and then the senseless noise will come back soon. We won't be able to listen to the soggy hearts. Cracks in the roof